Hello, it's Reija, and welcome to the last part of my 30 in 30 manga reading challenge. I did, in fact, complete the whole challenge. I read 30 manga in 30 days, and this is the very last part, the very last week 4 of my reading journey of getting through all of those volumes. So without further ado, let's get started, and at the end I will share some stats with you. Okay, me and Hermu over there, just checking in. So it is officially the final week of November. It is Thursday now, Thursday, November 24th. So a week from now, it will be December, basically. And I read the next 2 volumes of Sweat and Soap by Kintetsu Yamada, translated by Matt Treyvaud. So volume 4 and volume 5. And one thing that I really have to reiterate about this series that I really like is that this is an exploration of a long-term relationship from start to finish, of 2 people meeting, starting to date, moving in together, and eventually down the line getting married. That's the trajectory of this couple. So it's very cozy, it's very domestic. The fights, the tensions, they don't have like external motivators. They come from the anxieties felt by the characters internally that get projected onto the relationship, which I really like. It's very realistic. And aside from the like premise of Kotaro essentially being a bit of a perv and sniffing Asako, like having that whole like sense of smell thing, the whole series is incredibly vanilla. Like, it's very tame. Like, sure, you have some sexy fun time scenes, which Kintetsu Yamada calls service, fan service. The scenes are there to titillate the fans. And but this series is so like vanilla, straight, uncomplicated, like domesticity. So like, aside from the actual like premise, it isn't all that weird. Like, yeah. But I really like it. It's just so cute and fluffy. Like, it's such a fun time. So yeah, those were the 2 volumes that I read just now, and I am still on track. So 1 manga tomorrow, and 1 on Saturday and 1 on Sunday, and on towards the rest of November. So here we go. Hello, it is Sunday, November 27th, and I am still on track. I just finished, yesterday, I finished reading Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku, Volume 3 by Fujita, which is this one. And I'm counting this as 1 volume, even though this is an omnibus that's collecting 2 volumes, but for my like ease of calculation, I'm counting like 1 book as 1 volume, even though it would contain multiple. I like this. I still continue to enjoy the series. It is nice to have an office romance that's focusing on like adults, even though these are pretty young adults, like in their 20s as opposed to their 30s. And I can relate to a lot of the shenanigans because like all of the adults in question are like nerds. So there's like Nifuji, who is the like main character, is like a hardcore gamer, and then there is Momose, who is the main female protagonist, and she is like she is very into BL manga and also draws her own comics. And then Koyanagi is into like cosplay, especially like gender bending cosplay. So she only does like a crossplay where she cosplays male characters. And then Kabakura is an anime nerd. And then Kokun here
She is also another like gamer, and then Nifuji's brother Naoya is like he's not an otaku, but he's like casually into like games and stuff. So those are the characters. So they are exploring like six different nerd archetypes, or like five different nerd archetypes plus like a normie, and then like three different like relationship dynamics. I will say that in this volume the pacing felt a little bit choppy because like it there's this story arc where they go to an onsen, which is a company trip, and after every single chapter that they are at the onsen, it then switches back to a chapter or two to have sort of like a commercial break, as the author calls it, where the author is exploring other story aspects and or storylines. And I felt that was a little bit choppy. Like the onsen chapters could have been collected as like back-to-back things, so that the arc would have like flowed properly, and then the commercial breaks could have gone after, especially now that it's in print. But yeah, that's my only gripe. I really enjoyed this, and going to continue on to the next volume. And then I read The Girl from the Other Side, Volume 6. This was a reread because I was going to start from Volume 7, and then I realized that I have no recollection of what happens in this volume. Like, I have some recollections what happened in Volume 5, which this volume also like refreshed, but I had zero recollection of what happened here. I was like Gandalf being like, I have no memory of this place. So I reread this one. It's very cute. And then came this one. I read 7, and now I have volume 8 next. And then I actually have to go and get volume 9, because volume 9 is the only volume I'm missing. I already have volumes 10 and 11, but I don't actually own volume 9, so I need to go get that one. But The Girl from the Other Side is like basically a story about a monster taking care of a little girl. So it's like very domestic, very introspective and cute, but also has some really creepy elements because there is this curse that is plaguing humans. And it also has this thing called like the inside and the outside, because people have essentially fled all the like rural areas and hold themselves up inside this like city, or like a city kingdom, which has walled itself off from the outside world. So that is why they are called inside and the outside, and insiders and the outsiders, and outsiders are the ones who spread the curse. So there's a little bit of an allegory there for those of you who like that sort of thing. But I continue to really like this series. I especially love the dynamic between Shiva and Teacher. I just love domesticity and parent-child relationship, especially if it's like a fostering situation where like you're an adopted parent. I really like those dynamics. So yeah, those have been the things that I have been reading, and I just a couple of days ago, got this, which is the newest volume of Hat Atelier by Kamome Shirahama. Guess what I am going to be reading tomorrow? I have been eagerly anticipating this, and I am so happy that it has finally come in. I went to my local comic book store on Tuesday, and I already saw this at the shelves, and I was like, God, oh, damn it, because like my I pre-ordered this, it hadn't come in yet. And it came in the mail like 2 days after, but I was like really torn because I wanted to read it then and then. But yeah, I'm really happy about this, so this is tomorrow's plan. Okay, it is November 29th. It is almost midnight, so I'm off to bed soon, but I just wanted to tell you that I have finished 2 more things, so I only have 1 more thing to finish up tomorrow, which I'm planning on doing during my commutes, and then I will have finished
30 manga in 30 days. I will have actually finished this whole challenge. It has been rough. And honestly, at this stage, I'm not even sure I want to read any more manga in a while, because this has not felt very natural. Like normally I just pick up things whenever I want. And I don't mind having read all these series and all these volumes, but at the same time, it has been so tiring, because like it has felt like I've had to read a lot of manga, where normally I would have just, kept a break if I felt like it. But anyway, I finished another volume of The Girl from the Other Side, volume 8, by Nagabe, translated by Adrienne Beck. And this is, I still have 3 more volumes to finish, but I have to pause here because I actually don't own volume 9. I own volumes 10 and 11, but 9 has been out of stock constantly, so I don't actually own it. So I need to get that first. And both this and the next manga that I'm going to be talking about are really sad. Like, this volume had me like close to tears. It is very melancholy. It is very sad. It has some things that are sort of reminiscent of watching a loved one go through dementia, which is something that I had to deal with. Like, I've had relatives who have gone through dementia, and it was like really hard to read about. I will say I really like The Girl from the Other Side's art style. Nagabe has done another series, which I read the first volume or first 2 volumes, I want to say, in the last year's challenge. And this one, it was drawn similarly but still quite differently. The Girl from the Other Side, the art style reminds me of like these very like impressionist, like soft paintings, similar to like what Rudolf Koivu did for like a lot of like children's like fairy tale illustrations. Like The Girl from the Other Side has a very similar like atmosphere. Like, it is reminiscent of a fairy tale, and the way the characters are drawn is very like sort of flowy, soft, sketchy. The characters are more like suggestions of characters than very like realistic. It is very interesting. I've actually never really read anything with a similar art style. Like, this is very much like, when I think of this art style, I think of Nagabe. Like, I can't think of anyone else who has done it this way. So yeah, really looking forward to like finishing this series off. And then I finished Witch Hat Atelier Volume 10, and now I need Volume 11, because Volume 10, like, oh, there's so much. Like, this was so sad. Like, there's so many like sad moments, and really like heart-wrenching, and also like just like you feel the cruelty in every single bit, every single scene. Like, more revelations about how magic works, and how it can be misused, and how it can be applied in ways that it's not supposed to, and how traumatic that can be, is like really like it was like this volume was a gut punch. There were some moments where it felt like Kamome Shirahama had like a trouble trying to exposit certain bits of information in sort of organic way. So unfortunately, Kifri ends up being a little bit of an information dump. Like, he is the vehicle for information dumping in this volume, but I didn't mind that all that much, but it was a little noticeable. I will say that the pacing felt a teeny the pacing felt a little bit off, but like
aside from that, aside from the slight info dumping with Kifri as the vehicle and the like slight pacing issues, this volume was top notch. I really love this series. Like, yeah, this is my favorite thing. Like, the art is phenomenal. Like, it's so hard to describe it. Like, the way the like panel layouts are done and the way each like panel looks like it's like a woodblock art piece, like a woodblock print. It's so beautiful. Like, I love this series so much, and I can't wait for the next one. And now I have to wait again for like I don't know even how long, but yeah, really excited.
Hello, it is the very last day of November, and I have officially finished the challenge of reading 30 manga in 30 days. I did it. I completed the whole thing, and I completed it by reading Our Dreams at Dusk Volume 2 by Yuhki Kamatani. And this is actually another reread. I reread A Girl from the Other Side, and I reread this because I realized that I didn't remember almost anything of the second volume. I pretty much remembered most everything from the first volume, but not from the second. And I haven't read the whole series. I still have the last two volumes to read, and I wanted a refresher. So this series follows a bunch of various different people in the LGBTQIA plus community. The main character is gay and like coming to sort of terms with his identity and like trying to decide how he identifies and how he views like his attraction to men. And this series also has a lesbian couple and an older gay man, and also like a gender non-conforming, gender questioning character, which is who is the main point of and focal point of this second volume. And at times, this series can feel a little bit textbooky, like it really wants to explain these different identities to you and what they mean. But at the same time, I also feel like it is done with a lot of love, and there is a sort of need for this type of content, especially since like this isn't something that is really talked about in a lot of manga. So I feel like it is very nice to have this sort of representation. And Yuhki Kamatani is also a non-binary author themselves. So yeah, I really enjoy this, and also the art in this is gorgeous. Like, Yuhki Kamatani has really grown into their own. I first read their work Nabari no O, which is about ninjas in modern times, and in my opinion, better than Naruto. Anyway, and in that they were already a great artist, but Nabari no O's like panel layouts especially were very cramped, especially in the early stages of the series. Whereas in Our Dreams at Dusk, Yuhki Kamatani has really like evolved in terms of like different panel layouts, experimenting with different styles, experimenting with like flow of the art, and like has a lot of like volume and air, and also empty space in their panels, which makes the art not only more clear and easy to follow, but also just cleaner. So I really enjoy this, and yeah, I can't wait to finish the series.
And there you have it. This has been my 30 in 30 manga reading challenge. I finished 30 manga in 30 days. Not all of the manga volumes were finished on the actual day that I was supposed to finish them. So some days I read like 2 or 3 manga, and on other days I read 0. But overall, I am very happy with how I managed to complete this challenge, and I'm very happy that I managed to document everything. So I want to share a little bit of like stats, do a little bit of a genre breakdown, and also look at how many series I continued versus how many I started during this challenge. So first of all, genre breakdown. surprisingly, romance was the biggest genre for me with 36.7%, and then followed up by fantasy by 30%. And interestingly, a lot of the romance books that I read would have also kind of categorized in fantasy as well, so they were like fantasy romances, but I chose to put them in the romance category because the emphasis of the story was more in the romantic aspect instead of the like world building and fantasy aspect. Similarly, I probably could have put Berserk under horror, but I decided that Berserk is like more commenting on tropes found in fantasy, and horror is just a sort of like aspect and a vehicle for doing that, instead of like horror being the main emphasis of the story. So a little bit of a leeway is given in terms of like how I decided which series follows which genre conventions and which would be the most perfect fit. And then let's do a little bit of a series breakdown. So part 1, because I also want to go over the series in terms of like which series I actually read the most from. So 55.6% of the like everything I read was continuations of series that I had already started previously, and 16.7% were new to me series that I started during this challenge. And a surprising number of books of manga was actually standalones or short story collections, so a whopping 27.7%, which was quite surprising to me to see. Still, overall, continued series make up the bulk of this statistic. And then for part 2, explaining a little bit of how this stat was collected. In part 1, when I collected like the series data, I was basically calculating how many volumes in a series I read during this challenge and how that compared to the whole like reading 30 books thing. And here I calculated each series only one time, so I didn't calculate like, for example, a Berserk 5 times to get to the 30 stats, but I instead counted how many new series or how many series overall I read, which was around 20 or something, and then I used that as the metric to calculate the percentages. So you can see that I read Berserk and Sweat and Soap. Those two were the biggest hits for me. So completely different. Berserk with 13.8% and Sweat and Soap with the same percent. I could not have been more surprised at, like, this is a complete 180 in terms of tone, theme, genre. And I have read and enjoyed both series equally, pretty much. And then obviously standalones and collections make up 20.7% of the statistics, so that was a big one as well. So yeah, overall I have been very, very happy with my reading. Thank you for coming with me on this journey, and I doubt that I will be doing this challenge very often, so next spring, in like April was it, is the next round, and I doubt that I will be joining for that because this was a lot of work, and it started to feel like work at some point. So I think I'm glad that I did it because I really needed to get some more manga reading in during this year, but also I am thinking that for now I will just continue reading what I want and how I've been wanting to do it instead of trying to force myself to fit into like certain categories of reading. So, take it at my own pace. And yeah, if you got this far, please leave me a pie chart or a statistic graph emoji or something, because we covered some statistics here, so that I know that you were here, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye bye!